My son banned me from his wedding, but brazenly sent me a bill for $80,000 to pay for his lavish party and honeymoon in Hawaii. He even added, "Thank me for letting you contribute." I just smiled, feeling my anger turned into cold determination. His dream of a rich and perfect wedding would become a nightmare. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. I sat at my kitchen table in the quiet of my Lexington home, the October afternoon light filtering through the faded curtains. The envelope had arrived that morning, thick and cream-colored, with Brian's precise handwriting on the front. I had assumed it was the wedding invitation. Finally, after months of radio silence, my fingers traced the seal, a small thrill of hope stirring despite everything. I tore it open carefully, expecting elegant cardstock, announcing the date, the venue, perhaps a note asking me to walk him down the aisle like we'd joked about years ago. No invitation. Instead, a stack of papers slid out, itemized bills, crisp and professional, totaling $80,000. My eyes scanned the lines. $50,000 for the mansion rental near Lexington, a sprawling estate with manicured gardens and crystal chandeliers. $20,000 for catering, including imported wines and lobster flown in from Maine. Another $10,000 for the honeymoon suite on Maui, complete with private beach access. And tucked at the bottom, a handwritten note from Brian. "Dad, after the problems you've caused the family, be grateful that I allowed you to contribute. This covers your share. Send the check soon. Veronica and I are counting on it." I stared at the words, the paper cool and smooth under my fingertips. Problems? The problems he'd thrown in my face during our last argument, blaming me for not climbing higher in my engineering career, for the modest life we'd led after your mother's death. My hand trembled slightly as I set the note down, the itemized costs blurring for a moment. Nearby on the table sat a framed photo of young Brian, gap-toothed and grinning from a Little League game, his tiny hand in mine. How had that boy turned into this man, demanding money like I was an ATM, banning me from his wedding because I didn't fit his polished image? Shock hit first, a cold wave that made my chest tighten. I crumpled the note in my fist, the paper crackling like dry leaves, but then I smoothed it out again, laying it flat. No, I wouldn't let anger consume me blindly. I pushed back from the table, standing up slowly, my knees protesting the movement. The kitchen felt smaller, the walls closing in with memories of family dinners long gone. I walked to the sink, splashing water on my face, but it didn't wash away the sting. Brian thought he could erase me from his life while dipping into my savings. The nest egg I'd built through years of overtime, scrimping after losing Sarah to cancer in 2015. He'd called me once after her funeral, voice clipped. "You should have done more, Dad, for all of us." I swallowed the pain, reminding him of the insurance battles, the second mortgage I'd taken to cover her care. But he didn't listen. He saw only my failures, the modest house, the reliable but unglamorous job. I smiled then, a slow, bitter curve of my lips as the hurt twisted into something sharper. Resolve. I set the bill aside, folding it neatly, and felt a spark ignite deep inside me, a plan beginning to form in the shadows of my mind. I glanced at the bill again, its numbers mocking me. The anger slowly ebbed, giving way to cold clarity. If Brian thought he could manipulate me, he was mistaken. I knew a direct confrontation would get me nowhere. He'd dismiss me as always. But I could gather information, find cracks in their perfect plan. My old laptop sat on the kitchen counter, dusty but ready. Time to find out what they were really up to. That spark lingered as I glanced at the photo again, picking it up this time. Brian's young face stared back, innocent and full of promise from a day at Jacobson Park when he was 8. He'd climbed onto my lap during a sudden thunderstorm, burying his head in my shoulder while rain pelted the car windows. "Don't worry, Dad," he'd said, his voice muffled. "You're the strongest." I'd held him close, promising to always protect him, just as Sarah watched us with that warm smile of hers. I paced the kitchen now, the floorboards creaking under my steps, the scent of stale coffee from my morning mug hanging in the air. Those memories flooded in unbidden. Weekends teaching him to swing a bat at the local field, his laughter echoing as he rounded the bases. We'd been unbreakable then, a trio against the world. But after Sarah's death, everything shifted. Brian was 25, already climbing the corporate ladder in tech, and he started pulling away. "You let her down, Dad," he'd accused one night over the phone in 2016, his voice laced with resentment. "You should have done more. Maybe the treatments could have been better." I swallowed the pain, reminding him of the insurance battles, the second mortgage I'd taken to cover her care. But he didn't listen. He saw only my failures, the modest house, the reliable but unglamorous job. Last Christmas had sealed it. I'd driven to their sleek apartment in downtown Lexington, arms full of homemade tamales like Sarah used to make. Veronica had barely glanced up from her phone, whispering something to Brian that made him smirk. "Dad, we're going vegan now," he'd said dismissively. "And honestly, you showing up unannounced, it's awkward." I'd left early, the drive home a blur of street lights, feeling like a relic in their shiny world. Now this bill. It was the final insult, demanding I fund their extravagance while they shoved me aside. My fists clenched at my sides as I stopped by the window, watching leaves skitter across the yard. The anger built, a steady burn replacing the nostalgia. How dare he treat me like a burden, then expect gratitude for allowing me to pay? I wasn't the victim here. Not anymore. I raised him alone after Sarah, sacrificed vacations and comforts to give him a start. And Veronica, with her designer bags and social media boasts, was enabling his greed. No, this betrayal demanded consequences. I vowed then, silently but fiercely, to turn their perfect day into a lesson they'd never forget. Rain began to patter against the glass, mirroring the storm inside me, and I turned away, my resolve hardening like steel. A momentary doubt flickered. Was I too old for this fight? But I pushed it aside. Justice wasn't about age. It was about dignity. With that thought, I reached for my laptop on the counter, the cool metal grounding me as I prepared to dig deeper. The laptop hummed to life in the dimming light of the room, its screen casting a blue glow across the cluttered table. I settled into the chair, the rain now a steady drum outside, and opened the browser with purposeful clicks. Brian's social media profiles were private, but Veronica's weren't. She loved flaunting their life. I scrolled through her posts, each one a stab. "Can't wait for our dream wedding at the Oakwood Manor. Blessed. Trust luxury living." The date jumped out. November 15th, 2024, just weeks away. Photos showed the mansion, its grand ballroom decked in mock setups, chandeliers sparkling like diamonds. I sipped from a glass of the cheap red wine I'd been saving, its bitter tang sharpening my focus. Action spoke louder now. No more wallowing. I jotted notes on a pad. Venue, Oakwood Manor, 50K rental. Caterer, elite events, boasting farm-to-table for 200 guests. Photographer, some high-end pro named Laya Voss. Her portfolio linked in Veronica's comments. Gorgeous shots incoming, with heart emojis. Internal debates raged in my mind. Should I confront him directly? No, that would give him the satisfaction of dismissal. Better to undermine from the shadows, make him feel the loss of control he so feared. Tab after tab opened. Wedding planner Simon Clark's site. His bio touting seamless events for discerning clients. A mutual contact on LinkedIn confirmed he was handling it. An old colleague of Brian's had liked a post about the booking. Honeymoon details trickled in from a travel agency's promo. Maui Resort, Overwater Bungalow, all funded by that bill they'd sent me. My anger flared anew at a video Veronica shared of her trying on a gown, Brian grinning beside her. "Daddy's paying for the party, indirectly," she joked in the comments, a winking emoji. Indirectly? The audacity fueled me. The sheer arrogance of assuming I was just a silent wallet waiting to be opened left a sour taste in my mouth, worse than the cheap wine. I cross-referenced vendors, building a list. Florist, DJ, even the limo service. The extravagance was staggering, far beyond what Brian's salary could cover without my contribution. A hesitation crept in. Was this revenge going too far, risking what little family tie remained? But then I recalled his note again, that condescending privilege, and the doubt vanished. This was about self-worth, teaching him that greed had repercussions. My hand steadied on the keyboard as I found Simon Clark's contact number, the planner at the heart of it all. With a deep breath, I decided, time to make the call, to start unraveling their perfect tapestry, thread by thread. I picked up my phone, fingers hovering over the dial pad. The phone rang twice before a polished voice answered, smooth as polished marble. "Simon Clark Events, this is Simon speaking. How can I make your day extraordinary?" I leaned against the kitchen counter, the receiver cool against my ear, steadying my breath. "Hello, Simon. This is Robert Sterling. I'm Brian Sterling's father, the one footing the bill for his wedding." A pause, then warmth flooded his tone. "Mr. Sterling, Brian mentioned you'd be calling to finalize payments. We're thrilled you're contributing to such a special event. The Oakwood Manor is booked solid, and Veronica's vision is coming together beautifully." I let him ramble for a moment about floral arches and string quartets, my mind sharpening like a blade. "Actually, Simon, I'd prefer to discuss this in person. Can we meet tomorrow? I have some details to clarify." He agreed quickly, suggesting his downtown Lexington office at 10 a.m. I hung up, the click echoing in the quiet room, and poured myself another glass of wine, swirling it as I envisioned his face when the truth hit. No more hiding behind notes and bills. I leaned back in the chair, adrenaline pulsing through me. The meeting with Simon was the first step, and I needed to be ready. I spent the rest of the evening reviewing the bill again, jotting down key figures to keep facts at hand. Before bed, I picked out a clean sweater and slacks. Nothing fancy, but enough to look serious. As I lay down, I felt the plan solidify like a house's foundation. The next morning, I woke early, coffee in a thermos, keys in hand, ready to head out. I drove through light traffic, the autumn leaves swirling like confetti on the windshield. A brief hesitation gripped me at a red light. Was this the point of no return? But I dismissed it, accelerating as the light turned green. Simon's office was in a sleek building off Main Street, all glass and chrome, a far cry from my engineering firm's old brick setup. I parked and walked in, the lobby's sterile air carrying hints of expensive cologne. Simon greeted me with a firm handshake, his suit tailored and tie knotted perfectly. "Mr. Sterling, come in. Coffee?" He led me to a plush chair opposite his desk, piled with swatches and contracts. A framed photo of a beaming couple under a gazebo stirred a quiet resolve. That joy wouldn't be Brian's, not on my dime. We settled, and he pulled out the file. "So, the $80,000 covers everything? Venue, catering, even the honeymoon deposit?" Brian assured me it's all set. I leaned forward, my voice even. "Did he? Tell me, Simon, did Brian mention that he banned me from the wedding, that I'm not even invited to this extravaganza I'm supposedly funding?" His eyes widened, the pen slipping from his fingers. "Banned? No," he said. "Family contributions were handled. This is awkward." "Awkward," I echoed, short and sharp. "Try insulting. He sent me the bill with a note saying I should be grateful. After raising him alone, after everything?" Simon shifted, rubbing his temple. I don't know what to say. The contracts are signed, but Without full payment, we can't proceed. Deposits are non-refundable, but the balance— Exactly, I cut in. Inform Brian the wedding halts until he talks to me directly. No funds from me, and if he pushes, remind him how fragile plans can be. He nodded slowly, stunned. I'll call him today. This changes things. As I stood to leave, I overheard him mutter under his breath, "That arrogant kid." It fueled me, a first taste of the chaos brewing. I stepped out into the crisp air, the door clicking shut behind me, and felt the ripples spread like a stone skipped across still water. Standing on the sidewalk, I felt a surge of strength, but knew I couldn't go far alone. Simon was just the start. Brian wouldn't back down easily, and I needed eyes and ears I could trust. David's name surfaced in my mind, his number still saved in my phone despite years of silence. Brian's childhood best friend, the one he ditched when ambition took over. A quick memory flashed. David at 12, showing up at our door after their parents' divorce. Sarah making him hot chocolate, while Brian and I played cards to distract him. I dialed before doubt could settle. "David, it's Robert Sterling. Been a long time." His voice came through surprised but warm. "Mr. S. Wow, yeah. How have you been? Everything okay?" "Not exactly," I admitted. "Brian's getting married, but it's complicated. Can we meet? I need your expertise. Heard you're a private detective now, with photography skills?" He chuckled dryly. "Word gets around. Sure, the old cafe on Broadway in an hour." I agreed, hanging up as I turned into my driveway. The house felt less empty, with purpose filling it. An hour later, I sat at a corner table in the cafe, the aroma of fresh-baked scones mingling with falling leaves visible through the window. David arrived, taller than I remembered, with a detective's keen eyes and a camera bag slung over his shoulder. We shook hands firmly, his grip steady. "Mr. S., you look good. Sorry about Sarah. She was like a mom to me, too." "Thanks, David. And call me Robert." I slid him a coffee. Brian banned me from his wedding but sent a bill for $80,000. "I'm not paying. I'm fighting back." His face hardened. That sounds like him. Ditched me years ago when I wouldn't fake a reference for his job. Said I was holding him back with my small-time gigs. I nodded, probing gently. Heard stories like that. Exploited others for his climb. "Oh yeah," David said, leaning in, his tone laced with old hurt. "In college, he borrowed my project ideas, claimed them as his. When I called him out, he ghosted me. Veronica's the same, all about the image." We planned over refills. He'd document the wedding from outside, capture any fallout with photos and video, ready for public leverage if needed. A mutual acquaintance waved from the counter. Old Mrs. Higgins from the neighborhood, stirring a laugh. "Remember when you and Brian pranked her with fake snow in July?" David grinned, but it faded. "Those days are gone. He changed." "Mine too," I replied. "But this alliance? It's real." We parted with a handshake, ideas swirling in my head like the steam from our cups. "What if we need more recordings, logs?" I asked, the question hanging as he nodded thoughtfully. "Come by my place tonight. Bring what you've got, and let's start prepping for real." David grinned, his eyes sparking with enthusiasm. "Deal, Robert. I'll be there at 8. That question echoed as I drove home, rain starting to patter again on the roof. By evening, I had texted David to come over, unable to wait. He arrived at my door, toolkit in hand, the downpour turning to porch light into a hazy glow. "Ready to level up," he said, stepping inside, shaking off his coat. We moved to the living room where I cleared space on the coffee table. Dim lamps cast long shadows across the faded rugs, and I handed him a mug of hot coffee. It steamed curling like a promise. "Show me how to protect myself. Recordings, cameras, the works." David unpacked gadgets, a small recorder, hidden cams, even apps for call logs. First, legal basics, he explained, his voice steady and instructional. In Kentucky, one-party consent for recordings. Hit this button mid-call. I practiced on a mock setup, his demo exposing tactics Brian might use. Gaslighting, deflection. Like when he blamed you for his mom's treatments not working. David said softly. I remember you selling your car to pay bills. He ignored that. The words hit hard, pulling a memory. Sarah in the hospital, her hand weak in mine. Brian storming out after accusing me of not fighting harder. I shared it briefly, voice catching. She deserved better from all of us. You gave everything, David replied, his intonation gentle yet firm. I owe you. After my folks split, you let me crash here, tutored me in math. Brian laughed it off, called me weak. We toasted quietly with our mugs to justice, not revenge. He walked me through camera placement. Angle it here for the door, catch his faces clear. I tested one, the feed crisp on my phone, a surge of strength rising as the image stabilized. But as the device hummed, a new thought intruded. What if Brian called tonight? Sensing the shift, I felt a knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach, anticipating the confrontation. Brian didn't call that night, but I knew the silence wouldn't last. The next day passed in tense anticipation. I checked my phone, tested the cameras, took a walk around the block to calm my nerves. Every car passing by made me flinch, thinking it was him. By evening, I was on edge when the phone finally buzzed, his name flashing on the screen. The device hummed softly in my palm, its green light steady, when my phone buzzed on the table, slicing through the evening quiet like a knife. I was midway through brewing tea, the kettle just starting to whistle, steam curling up in lazy wisps. The screen lit up, Brian. I let it ring, watching the vibration skitter the phone across the wood. A chill draft from the window echoed the tension knotting my gut. It went to voicemail, then buzzed again. Veronica, this time. I ignored that too, pouring hot water over the tea bag, the aroma of chamomile grounding me. As I recalled David's advice, record everything. Their words will be your ammunition. A few days had passed since our session, filled with quiet preparations, installing apps, testing angles in the house, even a walk around the neighborhood to clear my head. But now the storm was breaking. The notifications piled up, 3 voicemails, texts flashing urgent. I sat at the kitchen table, the dim overhead light casting shadows on the walls, and played the first one, finger hovering before pressing. Dad, it's Brian. There's a misunderstanding with the payments. The planner called, said you pulled out. Call me right away. We need to sort this. His voice started composed, but an edge crept in like gravel underfoot. I replayed it, noting the panic bubbling beneath misunderstanding, as if his ban and bill were accidents. The second. Robert, Veronica here. Brian's upset. The vendors are threatening to cancel without your contribution. Don't do this. It's petty. Her tone clipped, superior, like scolding a child. Petty. The word stung, but I smiled faintly, sipping my tea. David had warned of this. Desperation masked as accusation. The third voicemail came from Brian again. Urgency ramping. Dad, seriously, pick up. Everything's falling apart. You owe us this after everything. The pause hinted at old grudges, his breath heavy. I listened twice more, analyzing the rising pitch. They implied threats. Rumors must be spreading. Simon had done his part. Then a call from an old mutual friend, Mrs. Gable from down the street, her voice hesitant when I answered briefly. Robert, heard whispers at the club, Brian's wedding troubles, people saying money issues. Hope you're okay. Her words sparked a twist, public whispers already. I hadn't expected the ripple to reach so far so fast. It fueled me, a surge of control after years of being sidelined. But as I set the phone down, another voicemail pinged in, Brian's voice cracking this time. "If you don't fix this, you'll regret it." The threat hung there, replaying in my mind as I stared at the screen. That threat echoed as the phone rang again the next evening, insistent, like a heartbeat, in the living room where I paced, the recorder app open and ready. I gripped the device tightly, letting it ring 4 times before answering. A deliberate pause to unsettle him. "Hello, Brian." "Dad, finally! What the hell is going on? Simon says you refuse to pay. You're sabotaging our wedding." His accusation burst out, voice pitching high with frustration. I breathed steadily, the carpet soft under my feet. "Sabotaging? You banned me, sent a bill like I was a sponsor, not family. Remember your note? Be grateful?" A beat of silence. Then he exploded. Look, it's not like that. Veronica's friends, the crowd. You're retired, Dad. It wouldn't fit. But the money, you owe it. After Mom, after the struggles you caused. The jab at Sarah twisted like a thorn, but I stayed calm, recording every word. "I raised you alone, sold what I had for her care. You blame me then, ignore me now. No, Brian, no payment." "You're ruining everything," he shouted, the words raw. "Veronica's furious. The caterers want deposit. The estate's holding the date but threatening fees. Fix it." I paused, drawing strength from the pocket watch on the side table, its tick a reminder of enduring dignity. "Fix what you broke. Talk to me like a son, not a banker." Then Veronica's voice cut in. Speakerphone, I realized. "Robert, this is ridiculous. We're building a life. Your pettiness could cancel it all. Think of the embarrassment." "Embarrassment? Like banning your father-in-law? I think of the bill you sent, the honeymoon you expect me to fund while excluding me." Yet Veronica jumped back in, defensive. "It's duty, Dad. Family contributes. Admit it. You're jealous of my success." The admission slipped out. Jealousy as his excuse, and it hit like a revelation, exposing his ego. I countered firmly, "Success built on using people. Not anymore." The line crackled with his heavy breathing. "You'll regret this. We're done." He hung up abruptly, the silence ringing in my ears, his words echoing as a key slip, a vulnerability laid bare that sharpened my resolve. That vulnerability lingered in my thoughts as I paced the hallway, the house quiet except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Moments later, a text alert chimed. "David. Update. Vendors demanding payment. Rumors flying at the estate. Photos incoming." I opened the attachment. Blurry shots of workers pausing setups, a florist van idling uncertainly. The images fueled me, but then Brian's texts flooded in. "Selfish old man, destroying our day over ego." Short stabbing accusations glowing on the screen. I scrolled, heart steady, when the neighbor's call came. Mr. Ellis from across the fence. "Robert, saw Brian yelling at a delivery guy yesterday. Rude as hell, demanding discounts like he owned the place." His voice gruff, supportive. "Heard about the wedding mess. If you need backup, I'm here. Remember how we snubbed us at the block party? Acted too good?" I leaned against the wall, phone to ear. "Thanks, Ellis. What exactly happened with the delivery?" He chuckled dryly. "Guy dropped off invitations or something. Brian berated him for a crease. Said, 'Do you know who I am?' Veronica just watched. Folks are talking. Vendors pulling out." The anecdote painted Brian's arrogance vivid, a snub echoing his treatment of me. "Appreciate the intel. Keeps me going." "No problem," Ellis replied warmly. "You've got community here. He doesn't." We hung up and I texted David back. More from neighbor. "Brian's alienating everyone." His reply, "Perfect. Escalation incoming. Preps faltering." But as I set the phone down, a new text from an unknown number popped up. Perhaps a vendor hinting at deeper trouble. "Mr. Sterling, wedding cancellation fees." The words trailed, spiking a fresh wave of urgency as the ticking clock on the mantel seemed to count down to something inevitable. The gray light of dawn seeped through the curtains on November 15th, 2024, the wedding day, as rain began to patter against the window panes like impatient fingers. I'd woken early, the ticking clock from the night before still echoing in my ears, a reminder of the urgency building over the past week. Those days had slipped by in a rhythm of quiet vigilance, monitoring updates from David, ignoring the escalating texts from Brian, even taking long walks in the crisp Lexington air to steel my nerves against any wavering doubt. Now, as I checked the weather app on my phone, forecasts of steady downpours mirrored the storm I'd orchestrated, a symbolic deluge washing away pretenses. I brewed coffee, the rich scent filling the kitchen, and settled at the table with my device ready. David's first text came at 7 a.m. At the estate, vendors arriving or not. Photos soon. I sipped slowly, the mug warm in my hands as images trickled in. Florists unloading vans, only to repack half the arrangements, their faces pinched in frustration under umbrellas. "Deposit issues," one caption read. "They're leaving." The chaos unfolded in real-time snippets. A caterer truck idling, workers boxing up crates of untouched china and silverware. Rain slicking the driveway into a glossy mess. Guests started arriving around noon, David's covert shots showing confused clusters under tents, umbrellas blooming like dark flowers. Overheard, "Where's the setup?" His message pinged. I ignored a flurry of calls from Brian, the phone vibrating like a trapped bee on the table. Voicemails piled up. I played one, his voice frantic. "Dad, send the money now. Everything's falling apart. The estate manager's threatening to shut it down." The desperation cracked through, a far cry from his earlier arrogance. More photos, the grand hall half-dressed, chairs scattered haphazardly, no sign of the string quartet. Then a shot that twisted something inside me. Veronica in her gown, expression crumpled, rain streaking the mansion windows behind her like tears. Doubt flickered briefly. Was this too cruel, turning their day into a spectacle? But I recalled the bill's condescension, the ban that cut deeper than any rain, and the doubt dissolved into quiet satisfaction. Justice wasn't gentle. The downpour intensified, sheets of water blurring the yard, as if nature itself amplified the reckoning. It felt as though the skies were weeping for the broken relationship that could have been saved with just a little humility. But then my phone rang again, Brian's name flashing, his voice on the edge when it went to voicemail. Mid-ring. That mid-ring plea hung in the air as I let it roll to voicemail once more. The sound was swallowed by a sudden pounding on the door, insistent and heavy amid the downpour. Rain dripped from the eaves in steady rivulets, pooling on the porch steps. I approached slowly, peering through the peephole. Brian and Veronica, disheveled in pajamas under hastily thrown coats, hair plastered wet, faces pale and drawn. I opened the door a crack, the cool mist spraying in. "What are you doing here?" Brian pushed forward, water dripping from his sleeves onto the entry rug, forming a small puddle like an unwelcome intrusion. "Dad, let us in. The wedding's ruined. Vendors left, guests scattered in the rain. It's a joke now." Veronica huddled behind him, her makeup smudged, gown peeking absurdly from under her coat. "Robert, please wire the money. We can salvage something." I stepped aside reluctantly, closing the door against the wind. They stood dripping in the hallway, the familiar scent of my home clashing with their desperation. Salvage? After banning me, demanding I pay like a silent partner? Brian ran a hand through his soaked hair, voice breaking. "It was a mistake. Veronica's idea. The image, you know. But now everything's collapsed. Help us, Dad. For old times." I crossed my arms, steady despite the emotional pull. A flashback hit during the pause. Brian as a keen after Sarah's funeral, accusing me of weakness while I buried my grief in work. It fueled me. Old times? Like when you blamed me for Mom's death, ignored me unless you needed cash? Veronica interjected, her tone wavering for once, vulnerability cracking through. We didn't mean, it's the stress, the honeymoon's booked, deposits lost, think of us. Think of you? I echoed, calm but pointed. Would you value me without my wallet? Answer that. Brian hesitated, eyes darting. Of course your family, but success means standards. Please, just transfer it. The admission, standards over bonds, hung heavy, exposing the shallowness. No, Brian, this is the consequence. Greed has a price, he begged, his voice rising. You're destroying us. Guests whispered, vendors mocked. Fix it for your son. Veronica clutched his arm, whispering urgently, but I shook my head. Go, learn from this. As I moved to open the door, Brian's final words tumbled out. Raw. Wait, Dad, I regret it. All of it. The rain roared outside, and I closed the door on them, their footsteps retreating into the storm, resolve lingering like the echo of his regret. That echo faded into silence as I turned away, sinking into the armchair by the window, rain streaking the glass in fading patterns. Their car lights pierced the dusk before vanishing, leaving the house wrapped in a comforting hush. The next few days blurred into reflection, fielding calls from curious neighbors, sorting through the emotional debris, even burning the original bill in the fireplace one quiet evening, its ashes a symbolic release. By week's end, David texted confirmation. Full collapse, the estate refunded partial, but reps tanked. Buzz got me new clients thanks to the fallout. I called him, the line crackling warmly. Robert, you did it! Photos show the empty tents, guests bailing, Brian's circle whispering arrogance bit him. I leaned back, glancing at an open photo album on the table. Faded images of happier times stirring, but not overwhelming. Appreciate your help. Feels freeing. He laughed lightly. Anytime. Heard from him? Not since, but maybe he'll learn. We chatted about old pranks, the conversation turning to future plans, perhaps a trip for me, unburdened. Later, an unexpected outreach. Mrs. Gable emailed inspired by the rumors. Robert, your stand reminded me to value real ties. Coffee soon? It warmed me. Alliances blooming from the chaos. I muttered to myself over a solitary toast with coffee, to dignity reclaimed. The home felt fuller, not with things, but with self-worth. Brian's lesson might sting, but growth often did. Hints of his regrets suggested seeds planted. As the rain finally cleared, I stepped outside into the crisp air, sunlight breaking through clouds, a new path unfolding before me. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.